Like that song? Oh, yeah. You may have noticed we have a new Grace Wing release, and that with 2 other songs is on the new version. So if you don't have that, you might want to pick it up in the bookstore. And again, the benefits go, well, actually the proceeds go to the building fund. So I thought it was beautiful. All right, new month.
Yay!
Yay! New series. Y'all ready?
Yep.
Okay. You know, the last 2 months, July and August, we've been dedicating to unhooking some of our thoughts that kind of get in our way. Ready to do some more of that?
Yes.
Okay. This is, today's service is the worship of God. So I wanted to share with you a little bit about my journey, which I know is also your journey. Maybe not the details or circumstances, but I know you'll relate a little bit. When I was a little child, and I'm talking 5, 6, 7, I didn't go to Sunday school very often, but I went periodically. And being who I am, I was there with big wide eyes, absorbing everything they were saying to me. And I was just in awe of all these stories that they were telling me. And believe it or not, most of the stories were from the Old Testament. And they used those for instructions to the little wee minds. And I remember being so amazed at what they would speak of. And then as an adult reading the Bible, you would raise an eyebrow. But I wanted to share one of the stories that they shared with me. And this was the story of Samson. And I may have shared this with you all before, but this is my pivotal moment. This is where the correlation really hit home for me. So let me remind you who Samson is in case you don't remember your little childhood Sunday school moments. Samson was born to a woman who had been barren, and she was told by a man of God that this child was going to be a Nazarite. He was going to be dedicated to God. And so Samson was born, and Samson grew to be this very big, strong guy. Now, being a Nazarite, he never cut his hair. So he was very strong. Y'all remember the story? And the Philistines ruled the country at the time. And so all of the children of Israel lived under Philistine rule. And Samson grew to be one of the judges of the Hebrews, one of the judges of the children of Israel. And as a story was presented to me in my childlike innocence, Samson was this big dude who killed and slew these Philistines. Philistines were bad. Samson good. So Samson's running around doing good. And then Delilah, remember Delilah? Delilah snuck up on him and got the truth of his strength, which was his hair. So when Delilah got it out of him that his hair was his strength, she had them shave it, and then the Philistines captured this strong guy. Bad. Boo. Boo. And then the Philistines took this strong guy and put his eyes out. That just about tore my heart out as a child. It was like, oh my God, how could somebody do that? I couldn't bear it. Boo, this bad Philistines. And then the Philistines put him in prison and made him work. Boo, bad Philistines. And then his hair grew back. And then he went to the temple to be put on display, and he placed a hand on either one of the temple pillars, and he pushed the temple pillars down. Down came the temple. More Philistines died in that day than he had killed in his whole lifetime. Yay, Samson! And that's how it was presented. Philistines bad, Samson good. Why? You know, when you read the story with adults' eyes, Samson was quite a character. He was selfish and self-serving. And he did whatever he pleased. And he wreaked havoc on the Philistines. If I was ruling a country and I had some maverick out there burning fields of people just whenever he felt like it, and just killing whoever he felt like it, I might want to tie him up too. You know, we don't look at the rest of the story. But in that little wee brain of mine, what was being planted within me? What they were teaching was that the Philistines were bad, and for one reason. Because they didn't worship God in the right way. Their worship was of idols. They worshiped outside of the right way of God. Do you see? And that's what I gathered from that. You would be amazed at how much you gather the same teaching, maybe through a different story. Who were the Philistines? Well, have you met a Philistine? They didn't survive, did they? Their world didn't survive, so therefore, who was right? Oh, the children of Israel, because they survived. We don't know what the faith of the Philistines was. We have very little information about it. But you know what we know about the Philistines? They had a faith. They had a faith. They worshiped. They might have worshipped to what we would call idols from our Western mind. But they had a faith. They were trying to connect with God. Yet in our minds, in my little baby mind, I now have a separation. If you don't worship my way, or the way that people are telling me, you are outside the worship of God. I want you to stay with me. This is very subtle. And it is prevalent through our consciousness, even today. Y'all with me? All right. In reality, the issues between the Philistines and Samson and the children of Israel was more than likely political and power-oriented. The Philistines probably wanted their land or their wealth. They probably didn't care about their God. They didn't come in and make them change their faith. They wanted an asset. They wanted to manage assets that belonged to these children of Israel. When we think about power struggles in our world today, how much are they focused on the earth plane? Power and struggle on the earth plane, and not on that Spirit of God. Yet where do we focus and point? They're bad because they don't worship the way we worship, the Spirit of God. This is what I was told. The rival and the conflict is always about power on the earth plane. When people worship differently than we do, we as a whole consider them less than. Breathe that in. Okay. We actually don't know anyone's world, and I'm sure that it made total sense to them. I'm sure that that Philistine that went to do his worship with his God, he in his heart thought that was the only way too. Made total sense to him. This is a glimmer, but I want us to see how much of what you believe is based on the perceptions that you were given. People are not like us, honey. They're not like us, darling. Sweetheart, they're not like us. Baby, come here. They're not like us. How many times have you heard that with a gentle maternal voice? Come on, baby. They're just not like us. And what does that create in your heart? Separation. Separation. Oh, they just don't think like we think. Very important. I wanted to share with you a little bit of what Janet Fooley had shared. Is Janet here? Okay. Janet was teaching the children downstairs, and the 8 to 12-year-olds. And I wanted just to share this because I thought it was interesting. She says that she was talking about a little story she was teaching them, and it was talking about tourists went to see a rock, and that's the basis. One of the boys asked me what a terrorist is. I thought he meant tourist, so I explained that answer. But he said, no, what is a terrorist? And then the conversation went to the Taliban. And this is what she said. They went to the Taliban, and another kid said, a terrorist is a bad person. So she said, I explained to them that people in other parts of the world live differently than we do. Many people do not even have an education, and their opportunities are limited. It's easy for us in America to judge others as bad people when we don't take the time to understand them. People in America have many opportunities to go to school, decide what they want to do with their lives. Some people in Pakistan, Afghanistan, wherever, sometimes do not. So I asked the kids what would they do if their family was hungry and they had no way to make money. Maybe someone would come along and say, I'll take care of your family if you join the Taliban and work for me. What would you do? Most of the children agreed that they would want to provide for their families. I also explained that sometimes the only school in the village is run by the Taliban, and the teachings include reading from the Quran each day and learning Taliban ways, like some Christian schools in America here do. Reading from the Bible every day, learning Christian ways. It's no different. Here, America, we have a choice. But in other places, the only school that they can attend might be one This might be the only school they can attend where their children can have an education at all. The class was starting to look at people in a different way when I finished. And I wondered if I would have been able to channel down such a great answer in that moment. I think that she took those kids into the heart of people. In any situation, we don't know how we would react about anything until we're there. And we don't need to put ourselves there, we put ourselves here. But what I want you to know is a good heart is a good heart, no matter where on the planet it is born. A tender heart is a tender heart. A self-serving heart is a self-serving heart. Do we not all have self-serving hearts that we know in America? Do we not know tender-hearted people? Do we not know good-hearted people? We choose to be born in the environment that will help our soul grow. Each segment of people, we could take the vibrations of their hearts and look at each segment, country to country, culture to culture, and we would find the same spectrum. The beliefs may be different. And what separates us? Beliefs. Beliefs. And as metaphysical Christians, this is the time for us to really start clearing away some of those old beliefs. Now, when people act in a way that harms others, when there is violence, when people act in a way that harms others, this is an act of human-to-human control and struggle. It is about power on the earth plane. When people act in a way that harm others, where is God? Is God commanding that act to be done? God is love. God is love. In terrorist activity, we can clearly see the earthly conflict. Yes? And we don't. It hurts us, because when one is harmed, all are harmed. But do we actually see our earthly conflict? Do we see our earthly conflict? Do we see those moments when we set aside the value of another to force our will into being? Is that not terroristic activity? When you set aside the value of another to force your will into being? And do we not do that even on a little baby level? And then we say, oh, that's okay because nobody died. Is it? You never know the harm that you inflict on the psyche of another. You never know the damage. You will experience it because it will return to you. But I want us to begin to think. We as a people must begin that personal responsibility to monitor our energies and to begin to live in harmony and acceptance of self and others. And then the world has an opportunity to live in harmony and acceptance of self and others. But it starts with changing our perspectives. You guys with me? All right. Are you beginning to realize how much programming we have in our beliefs? We think we're so original, don't we? We are just so original. Yeah. My seminary class, my class is in the Old Testament. Any of my people here? Okay, good. We just went through Psalms. Psalms is a very large book. And it was surprising and amazing how many concepts of standard Christian theology are in Psalms. We think standard Christian theology is so new. Whoa, no. It is a byproduct of what Jesus taught, woven through beliefs that were already in place. Some of the beliefs were, and you know, Psalms was written over a long period of time. You all know that 500, 800 years, so it's a long period of time. Some of the beliefs were, there's original sin. I was sin before I was born. The idea that sins need to be blotted out. The idea that you can be washed whiter than snow. And Jesus' teachings, did he say that? He said forgive. He said love. He said ask that your word and your works be that in resonance with the Father within, and you will reap what you sow. Ask for forgiveness. Ask that it be softened, but you have to reap what you sow. It's going to come back to you. With that law of grace, it comes back softer. You will be forgiven, but you have to learn. Ask. His message of love, woven through the Jewish faith, creates the Christianity we know today. Do you all know that?